Welcome to Hannity, and tonight early voting has started. There's only 2 weeks left to stop the Obama-Clinton machine. 2 weeks from today, you will be voting. And late yesterday, the White House confirmed that Obamacare premiums will skyrocket yet again, and in some cases, if not most, by double digits. And that's not all. Nearly 1 in 5 Americans now enrolled in the government program will only have one insurance provider to choose from. And here's how Donald Trump addressed the issue earlier today.
Together, we're going to deliver real change that once again puts America first. That begins with immediately repealing and replacing the disaster known as ObamaCare. My first day in office, I'm going to ask Congress to put a bill on my desk getting rid of this disastrous law and replacing it with reforms that expand choice, freedom, affordability. You're going to have such great health care at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's going to be so easy.
Now, Donald Trump, he vows to right the ship if he's elected president. Keep in mind now, the Obama administration, they promised over and over again and over again that you'll keep your doctor, you keep your plan, and save on average $2,500 per family a year. By the way, since it's been implemented, $4,100 increase per family across the country. Watch this.
We will start by reducing premiums by as much as $2,500 per family. If you already have health insurance, the only thing that will change under my plan is that we're going to work with your employer to lower your premiums.
And everybody will have lower rates, more, better quality care, and better access.
You can get the same good rates as a group that if you're an employee at a big company you can get right now, which means your premiums will go down.
Millions of real Americans like Jane and Brett Thomas benefiting from Obamacare every day. Their premiums are lower, prescriptions are cheaper.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton continues to support the so-called Unaffordable Care Act. She's out at the campaign trail, pushing it hard. Watch this.
When it comes to health care, we're going to defend the Affordable Care Act.
The 170 million of us who get health insurance through our employers got big benefits.
You know, it is challenging to try to make sure that this important step toward providing insurance for every American is fixed and not repealed, which is the Republican position.
All right, so how can Hillary Clinton continue to support the failed Obamacare experiment? What could this mean for the election? Joining us now with reaction, the host of Varney and Company on the Fox Business Network, Stuart Varney, also the editor-in-chief of LifeZette, nationally syndicated radio host, Fox News contributor Laura Ingraham. Keep your doctor, keep your plan, save money. Hillary said it, Obama said it, Pelosi said it.
October surprise. I mean, people are looking for the October surprise, WikiLeaks. This is one of those issues that affects every American. And if you're not one of Hillary's billionaire friends or a Fortune 500 CEO, then this is a really big bite out of your finances. And the fact that we have fewer choices, all the pro-choice people, they're always pro-choice when it comes to aborting babies, but they're not pro-choice when it comes to actually being able to pick a plan and have an insurance company that actually serves them and keeps costs down. All the things they said turned out to be lies. And remember, Hillary said not so long ago, before it was Obamacare, it was called Hillary Care. Trump people should make an ad just on that soundbite.
One of the principal reasons why America's middle class is shrinking and why the economy is slow is Obamacare. Middle-class people are in the middle. Poorer people get it for free. Richer people can afford it. It's the middle that is squeezed. And I think it's collapsing. And it's obvious that it is collapsing. But therein lies an opportunity for Donald Trump, because he does have a plan which could right the ship, and Hillary has a plan which will make it even worse and sink a lot faster.
Look at all these companies. Humana, Aetna, United, Blue Cross, Blue Shield. They're all pulling out. The competition's limited. They promised we'd save $2,500 a year. The average family already is paying $4,100 a year more. Now, here's the thing. If you're in Arizona, you're going up as you're doubling your rates. If you're in Pennsylvania, by the way, swing states, if you're in Florida, if you're in Ohio, if you're in Michigan, Iowa, let's see.
North Carolina.
New Hampshire.
Nevada.
You're all paying Nevada. You're all paying a fortune more.
Well, do you know what Zeke Emanuel told me, one of the authors of Obamacare, on my show just the other day? His short-term fix is as follows. Spend more taxpayer money on bigger subsidies to consumers, fine people more to make sure they sign up, and a bailout for the insurance companies with taxpayer money.
Really?
So
So why don't we just write people a check if that's the story?
Sean, one of the things that keeps getting repeated to me, both on radio and just, over in the makeup room, people are trying to care for their elderly parents. And they have now these very high deductibles on what they have to pay for prescription drugs. So before you get any reimbursement on a lot of the prescription,
$5,000 to $10,000.
Oh my God! I mean, we're talking from $3,000 up to $10,000. That's what you have to pay before you get any reimbursement on your prescription drugs. And Trump has been addressing that.
Shovel-ready jobs weren't so shovel-ready.
Right.
We doubled the national debt. They gave us Obamacare. Big
racial
fanfare,
unity,
big promises.
all the racial unity, yeah.
Racial unity,
yeah. That worked out well.
Okay, that's working out well, too. But here's the point. How can people still put their faith, trust, and hope in government? They doubled the debt. There's never a lockbox for the Social Security money that we paid our whole lives into. They squandered that and spent it. I would argue stole it. I know I'm too strong in my language. I know I'm a conservative.
I don't want to say that the American electorate is gullible, but there is an element of gullibility in it.
Well, Jonathan Gruber, remember when he sold Obamacare? They counted on the quote stupidity of the American people. They counted on people taking Obama's word for it because Obama was this new, incredibly compelling political figure. What he was saying must be true. What Sebelius was promising. And I think the metaphor for this was the collapsing Obamacare website. Remember in the 2012 campaign, the website was collapsing?
All right, is America going to take a look at this? And if I live in these swing states, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Connecticut, wait a minute, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Mexico, Colorado.
Pay attention, people.
But Donald Trump, in his speech this afternoon, spent at least 15 minutes on the demise of Obamacare and what he would do about it. That was very forceful stuff. It is a political opportunity
This is something
for Donald
people
Trump
ought to absorb. They've been lied to. You were lied to about your Social Security. They squandered it. They've even robbed your children. This guy's accumulated more debt in the last 8 years than 43 presidents before him combined.
And Sean, the media has been complicit in this. So many in the media brushed aside the concerns that you were raising. Years ago, I was raising, the Journal, Stewart, you were raising, that the numbers don't add up. And medical professionals who are not political said, wait a second, these reimbursements are going to go down and down and down that we get from Medicare. We're going to stop taking Medicare. So a lot of these doctors aren't taking Medicare because they can't make it.
The quality of care is actually going down.
Of course it is.
Access is actually being restricted. That's what's going on here. It's the demise of the American healthcare system. It's spiraling down. But again, it is opportunity for Donald Trump to say,
and I would say,
if
I were Trump, all these things about the women, say, sometimes you're right, I've been crude. And I've asked for forgiveness about that. But sometimes crude in the past or always corrupt. You can't go with always corrupt. Hillary is always going to be followed by corruption and ethical problems. Sometimes crude or always corrupt. That's the choice for America.
The media would have our audience believe this election's over.
Oh, please.
I'm just telling.
They said that about Brexit.
By the way, we have a report on how corrupt and how they're colluding with the Clinton campaign. My question to both of you is simple. Who's going to win this election?
I still feel that there's something else happening out there in the public. And I know that everyone will say the numbers. I've heard what Karl Rove and others have said. But I just don't believe Americans are dumb like Jonathan Gruber
I think he'll take Ohio and North Carolina and Florida. I hope. It's not going to be easy. Every Republican's got to thread that needle. It's a razor's edge. But then if he got every other Republican state and Indiana and Iowa,
I think he
still needs 4 electoral votes.
I think he should go to Connecticut and Massachusetts and make one swing through New England. I think he should do that and go back to New Hampshire. Connecticut is in trouble. They're losing business. We need economic growth.
Agreed.
All the things.
That's the most important thing.
If we don't have growth, all these dreams that they have are all going to go down the drain anyway.
Last point, may I? This will be the first election I will ever vote in my entire life.
Welcome to the family.
That's good luck.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you very much.
And coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
It appears you're coordinating. Are you?
Of course we're coordinating. I'm absolutely coordinating. It's completely 100% legal.
All right, one of the Democratic political operatives exposed by Project Veritas admits that he, in fact, is coordinating with the Clinton campaign. Rudy Giuliani will respond next tonight on Hannity. And welcome back to Hannity. So 2 bombshell stories are now rocking the Clinton campaign. First, the president of Correct the Record and Americans United for Change, Brad Woodhouse, appeared on Fox and Friends this morning. He was responding to Project Veritas and the videos showing his group and one of his former contracted employees, Scott Foval, coordinating with the Clinton camp. Now, keep in mind, Fox News has not independently verified these videos, but it's pretty intense. Watch this.
It appears you're coordinating. Are you?
Of course we're coordinating. I'm absolutely coordinating. It's completely 100% legal. Here's the problem, Steve, with these. Here's the problem with James O'Keefe. He's a liar. He's a convict. And he's been successfully sued for lying about people and putting them in a false light.
So are you saying that video is not accurate?
Well, it's accurate that we're coordinating with the campaign. We're legally allowed to. I have an organization that exists on the coordinated side of the wall.
We just had Rudy Giuliani on the show, and he said it's not legal for outside groups to coordinate.
Well, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
All right, Rudy Giuliani. He's always been somebody I thought knows what the hell he's talking about. But first, also today, more Clinton campaign emails released by WikiLeaks. In one, Clinton aide Cheryl Mills allegedly called out President Obama for claiming he first learned about Hillary's private email server from news reports. Mills wrote, quote, "We need to clean this up. He has emails from her. They do not say state.gov." Here with reaction, former mayor, New York City, America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani. If this is an outside group and they are getting money and they're coordinating with the campaign, my understanding of the law is that's illegal.
Sure. Well, the trigger is, are they collecting it under the hard money, in other words, the strict limits of campaign finance, or are they collecting the large amounts, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, a million, 2 million? If they're outside the limits, collection limits, then they can't coordinate with the campaign. Then they have to be independent. That's what Citizens United is all about.
Right.
So
what is your take here?
That coordination would mean they were acting in violation of the federal election laws.
All right. So they were very clear in the Project Veritas videos now that the money goes from the Clinton campaign to the DNC, to this group. As a matter of fact, I'll put it up on the screen because this is really important. Right. This is where the money comes. Right. This is where legality comes into play. Let's roll that.
I am contracted to him, but I answer to the head of special events for the DNC and the head of the special events and political for the campaign.
Hillary campaign, DNC, Democracy Partners, where does the money go to? Those fomenting violence and on tape bragging about and taking credit for even Chicago and organizing massive voter fraud. Illegality?
Well, of course, on a number of respects. First of all, think of the word, what does an independent committee mean?
Yeah.
It means being independent of the strategy and the tactics and the desires of the campaign and making your own decisions about that. So independence gone, therefore illegal. Second, the kinds of activities that conspiring to conduct are illegal in and of themselves. Conspiring
for voter fraud.
Conspiring to bring about voter fraud is a crime. Conspiring to provoke violence and then actually provoking it is a crime. So we've got...
Well, people got hurt in Chicago and they brag, that was us, we did that.
Something known as conspiracy to commit a crime. What you have on tape there is a conspiracy to commit a crime.
That is a crime.
Which a crime in and of itself. Right. Then they went ahead and committed the crime.
Which is a crime in and of itself.
Right.
How many counts, just off the top of your head?
I don't know. I got 5, 6, 7 there. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, the number of counts against Hillary Clinton.
By the way, your track record as a prosecutor was impeccable.
Yeah. I mean, that's easy stuff.
That would be an easy conviction for you.
Yeah, you're looking at that. Those are confessions on tape, essentially. Those are confessions to not only campaign finance, which is, those cases are backed up for years, but cases like fomenting violence, then the violence. Plotting for voter fraud. That alone is a conspiracy to violate the law.
Okay, let me go to what the Cheryl Mills email said. That Obama, they had to clean up this mess because Obama said, I learned about the Clinton email server scandal from press reports just like you. Meanwhile, he was emailing with Hillary on her private email. So he lied to us. That was exposed. The Clinton campaign knew early on they wanted to clean up his mess.
Right.
And then also he went further. Remember, he went and he said, I don't think this is any big deal. Could he have been trying to cover for his own actions?
I mean, we won't know until we know what's in those 33,000 emails, right? I mean, I don't believe she destroyed those emails and had them bleached, acid washed. Which,
by the way, I love the term bleach.
The signature.
You mean like with a cloth? You mean like with a cloth, Mr. Mayor?
No, with acid. I mean, it's dangerous and it's expensive. And even most cyber criminals don't do it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The reality is those 33,000 must contain enormous bombshells. Some regarding maybe Obama, and some of them, I'm sure,
Foundation.
Some of them showing how when she went to Switzerland for UBS and Clinton was collecting his $1.5 million speaking fee, and she interceded with the IRS, which is a separate crime, by the way, to intercede with the IRS in order to help UBS.
Yeah.
UBS ended up giving them $3, $4, $5 million in donations and
how many pay-to-play examples do you see? Do you see it with Morocco? Does this now put emphasis? You know, here's a woman.
Well, the worst one, I believe, is the uranium one. The uranium one is very complicated. It's very hard to describe it. I'll give you the simple part of it. Simple part of it is she agreed and had to sign off on 20% of our uranium being sold to Russia. What American Secretary of State at any time since the Second World War would agree to giving Russia uranium? None.
It's insane. I can't even believe it.
Except one whose husband got big speaking fees, whose foundation got multi-million dollars in donations from the people who made the money from that, who all made hundreds of millions from it.
And didn't Podesta also have stock options?
He made a fortune.
And he transferred it to his daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure she's not going to give it back to him.
He made a fortune from it.
Yeah.
But that's selling out the United States. That's not just bribery. That's selling out the national interest of the United States.
Here's my next and last question.
They have taken two, really, I would consider sacred departments of government that have hardly ever been economically corrupted. The Justice Department, maybe during Teapot Dome, and the State Department, which has its own problems, but not economic corruption. And they've turned them into cesspools.
How do you see this election going 2 weeks from today?
I think the election will be a big surprise. I think the amount of support for Donald Trump out there is surprisingly strong. It remains stronger and stronger as the media tries to create the psychological tale.
Let's give him North Carolina. Polls are tight. Let's give him Florida. Polls are tight. Let's give him Ohio. Polls are tight. And then every other red state, including Iowa and Indiana. Now, he still needs 4.
He could pick up one of those 4, 2 of those 4. I mean,
he needs New Hampshire, New Mexico.
New Hampshire's possible.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan.
Michigan's possible. Michigan, particularly with NAFTA, his opposition to NAFTA. People in Michigan know the NAFTA story better than people in New York know the NAFTA story.
All right,
they have lost their jobs, and their jobs are now sitting in Mexico.
Good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
Keep it going, folks. We're fighting a crooked establishment, and just about the biggest part of the crooked establishment are these people right back there with the phony cameras. A bunch of phony lowlifes.
I actually love when he does that. Then the people turn and boo them. Anyway, Donald Trump calling out the liberal left-wing media as WikiLeaks now exposes yet more damning evidence of collusion between the press and the Clinton campaign just days before Hillary Clinton announced her candidacy. Monica Crowley, Joe Concha, they're here to react. And also tonight.
She shouldn't be allowed to run for president. She shouldn't be allowed. She's a crook.
A fired-up Donald Trump campaigning hard in the swing state of Florida. We have the highlights of that rally and much more. Stay right there.
Keep it going, folks. We're fighting a crooked establishment, and just about the biggest part of the crooked establishment are these people right back there with the phony cameras. They're a bunch of phony lowlifes.
The truth is, I think the American people had enough. We've especially had enough of the collusion between the national media and Hillary Clinton's campaign. Have you heard about some of them? I mean, it's just amazing.
All right, Donald Trump and his running mate, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, going after a very abusively biased liberal media. Now, WikiLeaks has been uncovering the widespread collusion that does exist between the press and the Clinton campaign. But the latest example may be the most shocking yet. On April the 9th of last year, just days before Hillary Clinton officially launched her campaign, an email released by WikiLeaks appears to show that 25 so-called journalists who closely covered Hillary Clinton all invited to John Podesta's home for wining and dining, and the list includes reporters from the AP and Bloomberg and CBS and CNBC, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, the New York Times, Politico, Reuters, The Hill, and the Wall Street Journal. Nobody from Fox News. Where was my invitation? I don't know. Got lost in the mail or something. Here with reaction, The Hill's media reporter Joe Concha and Fox News contributor Monica Crowley. You know what's so amazing about this is Monica and I, we're radio and TV hosts, right? That's what we do. Do I hide the fact that I'm a conservative?
You're transparent in your support of Donald Trump, and I think your audience appreciates that because you're not pretending to be objective like, say, a John Harwood, who is the chief Washington correspondent for CNBC and a New York Times contributor. He's still going on the guise of being objective. That gets him to be a debate moderator like he was last year. When you're transparent, at least people appreciate that, and the fact that you're an opinion host doesn't hold you to that standard.
And by the way, the news people at this network, they do their job. We give opinion, just like newspapers have an editorial page. This is one editorial show. But they have been so dishonest here. And this level of collusion, it's this incestuous relationship, is far deeper, I think, Monica, than anybody knew.
And that's the point, Sean, because for decades we've known that the news media has been largely on the left. If you look from Pew polling of national correspondents starting in 1964, 94% voted for Lyndon Johnson over Barry Goldwater. 1980, Ronald Reagan, who won the country in a landslide, 81% of national correspondents voted for Jimmy Carter. What's different about this time, qualitatively and quantitatively, is the level of support and activism for the Democratic nominee for president. And that comes out of two things. It doesn't grow out of a love for Hillary Clinton. Nobody actually likes Hillary Clinton. They might vote for her, but they don't actually like her.
Joe's been out to, you ever get invited
definitely doesn't like her.
Did you get an invitation to dinner, lunch?
I'm more of a beer pong kind of guy, so I don't think I'd fit in with
All right, you and I will hang out then. All right, good.
But you know what? It doesn't come out of this love for Hillary. What it comes out of is this ideological affinity for her because she's a Democrat. They're liberals and Democrats also. They want to see the agenda pursued. Right. But it also comes out of a hatred and fear of Donald Trump. And that's why the activism is ratcheted up to a level we have never seen before.
I said in 2008, journalism is dead in America. I didn't know how right I was, nor did I think I'd have the level of proof that we now have. What are the consequences for this guy, what's his name, Thrush at Politico? What are the consequences for the CNN people, the MSNBC? What's John Harwood's consequences? In other words, I've been hit this entire cycle. Shocker. Sean Hannity supports the more conservative candidate, and I've gotten the crap beat out of me this year. You know, because you've called or written me and said, do you have a comment? So-and-so thinks you're this or that. What are the consequences for them? Because they are something that they're not. I'm being who I said I have been and who I've been on for 21 years on this network and 30 years in radio.
Can I bring my 3-year-old daughter into this conversation as an analogy? She jumps on my couch all the time.
She's smarter than me.
Okay. She used to jump on the couch all the time. Yeah. We were afraid she was going to fall and she does it violently, break her arm. So what we did was we took away her cookie after dinner, we put her in the naughty corner, and we took away TV. Yeah. And by actually applying accountability, she finally learned and she apologized. Now, you mentioned all of those people that have broken rules, journalistic malfeasance, sharing debate questions in advance if you're Donna Brazile, or if you're Glenn Thrush, or Ken Vogel at Politico. Yeah. Right. Two Politico reporters were caught sharing stories in advance.
What about the MSNBC host that got the questions and read it verbatim?
Or source approval, right? Or quote approval. All of these things, right? It will keep happening, Sean, or getting worse unless there is accountability. And that means, A, contrition from the people that actually commit these acts, which there's never an apology. And then there's never a suspension. There's never any reprimand. So it's only going to keep getting worse. And trust, and this is just a conservative thing. There's plenty of Bernie Sanders people who think that Hillary Clinton got disproportionate coverage. This is a trust issue with media. And when Donald Trump goes away, if he loses this election, there will be a purge of 150, 200% in ratings and clicks because that bubble is going to burst and trust is gone. And social media,
you don't get it back.
You don't get it back. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
But you know what? You're an anomaly in your business. I mean, you got the little pipsqueak reporter, Jeff Zucker's stenographer over at CNN. You know, it's outrageous. They don't report on their friends. They don't take on their own network. They only want to go after Fox. You know, you once said to me, there's a whole industry of people that are only employed because they go after us.
Yeah, it's an industry that goes on both sides. I want to be clear about that. The Media Research Center couldn't exist without liberal media to pick
Which is the rest of us, except for us.
Right. And Media Matters employs dozens and dozens of people, has millions of dollars in revenue because of Fox News. If Fox News were to go away, Media Matters does not exist.
Could you imagine the poor guy in their underwear all day that has to listen to 3 hours of my radio show, watch an hour on TV, and then take notes?
Oh,
I mean,
my God.
what a horrible life existence. By the way, whoever you are, go get a life. All right, go ahead.
You asked about consequences. Of course, there won't be any real consequences, except these reporters might get a raise, because the entire structure of these journalistic organizations are shot through with left-wing bias. When I worked with President Nixon in the early 1990s, I asked him about why is journalism so dominated by the left? And his response was very telling. He said, smart conservatives go into business to make money. Smart liberals go into journalism to change the country and change the world.
Interesting.
And
analysis.
I think that's absolutely right. But you know what? It gets to something Bernie Sanders said during the primaries and something Donald Trump says every day to this country, and he's right. That the system is rigged, and by that he means you don't have a fair, independent, impartial press, which is interested in, above all, the truth.
Okay, that
no
should be their goal.
exists.
But you know what? We now know they did screw Bernie Sanders. They screwed him big time. All right, but I got a break. Coming up next tonight on Hannity.
She shouldn't be allowed to run for president. She shouldn't be allowed. She's a crook.
Donald Trump campaigning hard in the swing state of Florida to try and stop the Obama-Clinton machine. We'll play those highlights from that rally. Also get reaction from Sheriff David Clark, Doug Schoen. Also, we recently did a town hall with Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Lara Trump, and conservative millennial voters. That and more straight ahead.
Crooked Hillary Clinton bleached and deleted 33,000 emails, lied to Congress under oath, made 13 iPhones disappear, some with a hammer, then told the FBI she couldn't remember 39 times. Bad memory. She shouldn't be allowed to run for president. She shouldn't be allowed. She's a crook. She got the answers to a debate. She got the questions to a debate. And she didn't turn herself in. The criminal conduct of Hillary Clinton threatens the foundations of democracy. I mean that.
All right, Donald Trump campaigning in Florida earlier today. Here with reaction, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, former Clinton pollster, Fox News contributor Doug Schoen. All right, you're a poll expert. I am not. I tend to believe polls. Right. Do I think it's possible underreporting of Trump? Maybe people don't want to say they want to extremely vet refugees or build a wall. Yeah, I think that's possible. Brexit possible? Yeah. Yep. But I'm not counting on that. I am saying, listen to the polls. Which poll do you think is most credible? The one in past years has been IBD.
Yeah, I think the ORC poll.
The CNN poll.
Having it at about 5. Yeah, average that with IBD, we're around 2 or 3 points.
It would be 2.5.
Because the Republicans come home, the anti-Obama Hillary people, more likely to vote for Trump. This is Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania is where this race.
Also New Hampshire. Well, if Donald Trump takes Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and then all the other red states, including Iowa and Indiana, okay, 2 states that have gone from Obama, he needs New Hampshire, New Mexico, or one of those states you mentioned. He still needs 4 electoral votes.
Correct. And it's going to be tough for him, but not impossible. I make Hillary the clear favorite.
Okay. What do you think, Sheriff?
Well, I don't think she's the clear favorite. Look, I'm not going to sit up here and argue what the pollsters are doing. They're pretty good at what they do in terms of knowing what they're doing, but the only poll that matters right now is the one that will be conducted on November 8th. And this is really going to be about turnout. Whose base is motivated, whose base is energized, who is going to get their people to the polls to actually cast a ballot. And I see that momentum, or I'm sorry, I see that energy and that motivation being on the side of Donald Trump.
How embarrassing. Poor Tim Kaine got 30 people to show up at a Florida event. You see the enthusiasm. It's reminiscent of Obama.
Yes, it is.
It is.
The problem is Trump's negative is high, which means that he needs a ground game to get the folks, every last one of them.
We're told by the early voting numbers, my sources have told me they are about 40% better, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and Iowa than they were in 2012. How do you interpret that?
Well, I see other states that are showing other evidence. I think it's basically a wash. I think the Democrats will probably have a slight, and I underscore slight, advantage going into Election Day. But then it's going to be a question, as Sheriff Clark was saying, how motivated people are. And at this point, we just don't know. It's the Clinton ground game against Trump's enthusiasm advantage.
Reince Priebus swears they're 1,000 times better than 2012.
Well, we will see. I think that that's an open question. But also an open question, Sean, is can the various scandals, emails, now the $675,000 to the wife of the FBI
Can you believe that?
investigator.
Can you believe that?
All of these, if they metastasize, where people say, we just can't elect this person president, then Hillary will have a tougher road to hoe. So far, it hasn't metastasized.
Metastasized. Yeah,
Sorry.
I
Sorry.
understand. But you're saying that one of these scandals could be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
And so far it hasn't happened.
But it could happen.
It could happen. And we also have more WikiLeaks to come.
You're right. Then they're pretty damning. All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
And up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
Hillary wants to shut down American energy and put the miners out of work. She said it. We want the mines and the miners out of work. That's nice. Horrible.
Donald Trump slamming Hillary Clinton's economic agenda. Coming up, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Lara Trump recently joined us to talk about this issue and more at a millennial town hall. We'll play that for you straight ahead. All right, that was Donald Trump earlier today promising to create jobs if he's elected president. According to the polls, the economy is the most important issue to millennial voters. Now, last week, while we were in Vegas for the third presidential debate, we did a town hall with a group of conservative millennial voters. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, his wife Lara Trump also joined us for the discussion. Watch this. Let me just throw some numbers out here to get things started, because you guys are going to inherit this world. This election will impact you maybe more than you even know today. Here's where we start. We have now 95 million Americans out of the labor force, the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, the worst recovery since the 40s, a 51-year low in terms of home ownership rate in the country. We have, since Obama became president, 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more Americans in poverty, and we've doubled the national debt that they've got to pay back. To me, first and foremost, we have really failed this generation.
No question.
And we've got to fix it for them. We need to fix the mess that has been created.
It's the national deficit, as you said, by 11 trillion over 7.5 years. That could have paid all student debt 6 times over. Think about that. All student debt could have been paid off in this country 6 times over with the amount that they've increased our national deficit over the last 7.5 years. That's scary, guys. That's really scary.
It really is. Do you feel nervous about your future? Yeah. You really do? Laura, you know, I know both you and Eric do a lot of philanthropic work, and you help a lot of people that are in need. Here's another statistic. 1 in 6 American men, 18 to 34. How many men in here are 18 to 34? They're either, 1 in 6 of these guys are either in jail or living in mommy and daddy's basement because there's no jobs available for them.
No, it's really scary stuff. Look, when I got out of college over 10 years ago, it was hard for me to find a job, and I hear
it's really 5. Well, I know
it's really 5. No, but when I talk to kids today, and I've been fortunate enough to go to many college campuses, I got to go back to my college, NC State, recently. It's scary stuff. People are nervous that there aren't jobs out there for them because there aren't jobs, because we're shipping manufacturing overseas, because we really don't have the economy in this country to sustain small businesses anymore. And, you know, you're right, it's going to impact this generation of people. And I think we got some smart ones in here that are going to vote for Donald Trump.
Who's voting for Trump? Come on. I like it.
Don and I have a lot in common because, like you, I was the troublemaker in my family. I got hit with the belt more than anybody. By the way, if that happened today, all you got to do is call the police and say, they hit me. Yeah. And your parents will go to jail and you'll never get hit again. Yeah. Times have changed. Right. But in all seriousness, you know, I look at Trump Tower. I've been over there a lot. And I watched all of you in your work environment, your everyday environment. And I see a lot of young people. and I see how hard they work. If I'm there at 7 in the morning interviewing your dad, the office is pretty full. If I'm there at 7 at night, the office is pretty full. There's an incredible work ethic and opportunity that exists that your father created for a lot of people.
I think without question. I mean, that was always the way he was with us growing up. I mean, we weren't handed anything. Now, we were spoiled. To say otherwise would be laughable. But we were spoiled with good experiences, incredible vacations. We got to do and see cool things. But they always kept us financially a little bit down, right? We had to work for things that we wanted. You know, I got... this is going to age me, but I got Nintendo when all my friends got Sega. Okay, that's how old I am, guys. So that's where I'm out of the millennial category. But because they kept us hungry, they made us work that way, and that's what it's about. I mean, by the way, the other problems with the job statistics that we read about is they don't talk about underemployment because of Obamacare. You know, people that used to work 40 hours a week, the small business can't afford the extra regulations and the increased premiums that are doubling and tripling in some of these places now. So people are now working 30 hours instead of 40 hours, or 25 hours instead of 40 hours. So they say, well, the numbers on jobs have gone up. Well, that's people working 2 jobs, okay, just to get by. That's not better job numbers. That's people doing twice as much just to be in the same place. And that's also really scary. So to promote that kind of entrepreneurship, to do the kind of things that my father's doing, that's what's special about this. That's why we need someone who's not part of this D.C. cartel. And that's a bipartisan problem. Okay, both sides have done this. They've created this mess. They've never done it in practice. It's all theory, right? We push a button and jobs just magically appear, even though we've never actually signed the front of a paycheck creating any jobs. It's not that simple. And I think with youth, we are giving them a major problem. Okay, if we all ran our households like the government runs this country, we'd all be living on the streets. Okay, and we're just making it worse. And if you put in the most typical of typical politicians, okay, Hillary Clinton this time around, guess what? It's going to go from 20 to 30 just as fast. And there is a point of no return. There is a point that you don't come back
from. I worry the most about what you just said, a point of no return. Here's another statistic that I think should shock a lot of you. Would you be surprised if I told you that 1 in 5 American families, go down any neighborhood, count 4 houses, then go to the 5th house, there's not a single family member in that household working today? Does that surprise you? Since Obama's been president, there's a lot of talk about demographic voting in this election. Well, black Americans, there's been a 58% increase of black Americans on food stamps and a 20% increase black Americans that are not in the labor force. And by the way, you're right, Don, we don't count them anymore because those numbers are fraudulent and phony. They don't give you the real unemployment number.
If you've been out of work for 6 months, you no longer count. Now, you want the job. You just can't have it, but it doesn't.
Can you imagine that you don't count?
I mean,
if you did your accounting that way, you'd go to jail.
Well, Sean, also think about the fact that median incomes in this country, right? This is scary stuff for anybody entering the workforce, but median incomes in this country haven't gone up in 15 years. So you enter the labor force when you're 20. You're now 35. You're not getting paid any more money. But what's killing you is Obamacare. Premiums have gone crazy. Utilities have obviously gone up. We're the highest taxed nation in the world.
Obamacare has cost the average American $4,100, and the promise was keep your doctor, keep your plan, save $2,500 a year.
Yeah, but that's what this is, Sean. That's what it is. People are sick of politics as usual.
And coming up, we need your help. A very important question of the day. Straight ahead. All right, time for a question of the day. So if Obamacare continues to fail, are the Democrats, is Hillary going to push for single payer, which makes everything that much worse? We want to hear from you. Go pushing it hard. Watch this.
When it comes to health care, we're going to defend the Affordable Care Act.
The 170 million of us who get health insurance through our employers got big benefits.
It is challenging to try to make sure that this important step toward providing insurance for every American is fixed and not repealed, which is the Republican position.
All right, so how can Hillary Clinton continue to support the failed Obamacare experiment? What could this mean for the election? Joining us now with reaction, the host of Varney and Company on the Fox Business Network, Stuart Varney, also the editor-in-chief of LifeZette, nationally syndicated radio host, Fox News contributor Laura Ingraham. Keep your doctor, keep your plan, save money. Hillary said it, Obama said it, Pelosi said it.
October surprise. I mean, people are looking for the October surprise, WikiLeaks. This is one of those issues that affects every American. And if you're not one of Hillary's billionaire friends or a Fortune 500 CEO, then this is a really big bite out of your finances. And the fact that we have fewer choices, all the pro-choice people, they're always pro-choice when it comes to aborting babies, but they're not pro-choice when it comes to actually being able to pick a plan and have an insurance company that actually serves them and keeps costs down. All the things they said turned out to be lies. And remember, Hillary said not so long ago, before it was Obamacare, it was called Hillary.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, early voting has started. There's only 2 weeks left to stop the Obama-Clinton machine. 2 weeks from today, you will be voting. And late yesterday, the White House confirmed that Obamacare premiums will skyrocket yet again, and in some cases, if not most, by double digits. And that's not all. Nearly 1 in 5 Americans now enrolled in the government program will only have one insurance provider to choose from. And here's how Donald Trump addressed the issue earlier today.
Together, we're going to deliver real change that once again puts America first. That begins with immediately repealing and replacing the disaster known as ObamaCare. My first day in office, I'm going to ask Congress to put a bill on my desk getting rid of this disastrous law and replacing it with reforms that expand choice, freedom, affordability. You're going to have such great health care at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's going to be so easy.
Now, Donald Trump, he vows to right the ship if he's elected president. Keep in mind now, the Obama administration, they promised over and over again and over again that you'll keep your doctor, you keep your plan, and save on average $2,500 per family a year. By the way, since it's been implemented, $4,100 increase per family across the country. Watch this.
We will start by reducing premiums by as much as $2,500 per family. If you already have health insurance, the only thing that will change under my plan is that we're going to work with your employer to lower your premiums.
And everybody will have lower rates, more, better quality care, and better access.
You can get the same good rates as a group that if you're an employee at a big company you can get right now, which means your premiums will go down.
Millions of real Americans like Jane and Brett Thomas benefiting from Obamacare every day. Their premiums are lower, prescriptions are cheaper.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton continues to support the so-called Affordable Unaffordable Care Act. She's out at the campaign trail